It is your boy T with another Have You Seen That with T movie review, and today we are reviewing Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. So, Ethan Hunt and the team, and I think this series has finally become self aware because the movie starts off with them being disavowed and being, they've already gone rogue almost as soon as the movie starts, which is kind of a running gag. Every single Mission Impossible movie, Ethan and his team, something bad happens in some foreign country. The team gets disavowed and they go rogue and they have to clear their name all while saving the world. In the last movie, Ethan and his team actually defeated Superman, literally beat Superman. And I mean, just the movie starts off, the team is back at it. Rebecca Ferguson's Ilsa Faust is back at it. And Ethan goes on this worldwide journey in order to stop something called the Entity. Without spoiling too much about the movie, I feel like they said the entity at least 500 times in the 2.5 hour runtime this movie played in. It annoyed me so much. They kept saying the entity. It annoyed me. It was a crutch. It just needed to stop. All you had to do is explain it once, and every single time you were talking about the bad guy, you didn't have to say those words, but they did. But that's really my only gripe with the entire movie, other than one thing that I will not spoil. There was one thing that really touched me to the core. That once again I won't spoil, but this was a fantastic movie other than the entity thing, right? I mean, just the action was amazing. Esai Morales was an amazing villain. I mean, we had the White Widow come back. Rebecca Ferguson was here. Haley Atwell joined the series. And what I think, of course, she will be back for part two, but it just was a fun ride. Somehow these Mission Impossible movies seem to get better. I don't know if this one is as better as as good as Fallout, because once again they beat Superman in Fallout. But at the same time, this was just a fun ride. This has been a very slow summer for movies. Some real downers as far as movies have gone this summer. But this one really picked up, a lot of steam. I'm pretty sure this movie is going to make a ton of money because it's doing really well in the reviews. If you are looking forward to seeing an action movie this weekend, definitely go check out Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I'm really excited about Part 2, where they can go with this. I mean, this was something completely different. The movie is based around like some rogue AI that's controlling things. And yes, that's a spoiler, but at the same time, it's the plot, right? It's nothing secretive there. It's the plot of the movie, and Ethan and his team is in a race to time to find this key, two parts of a key that they have to put together. And there's so much shenanigans going on when it comes to this key, so much sleight of hand, all these magic tricks that are going on. It's just really fun to watch. I think this movie really leaned into humor more than the other movies have. I think like there was a few times in the movie where they stopped and just told a joke. Like it was like action was happening nonstop, and then it was like they almost stopped just to get a joke in, which was slightly weird, but at the same time, they were funny jokes, right? So they worked. There's one particular scene with Haley Atwell and Ethan in the car, and I laughed so hard. Like it was such a funny scene. Like it was so silly. It was so out of the ordinary when it came to the rest of the movie, because a lot of what they do in Mission Impossible is based in reality. Everything's real serious. Everything has this huge gravity to it. And I think that I don't know if it was to add time to the movie. I don't know exactly why they added these jokes in this one, but there were a lot of jokes in this movie. Um, a lot of like more emotional investment in the movie, which made a lot of the things that happen carry that much more weight. There was a lot of emotion in this movie, and it just was a good time. Like I was seriously excited watching this movie in the theater, right? I was jumping out of my seat some of the scenes because the action just was it was just fantastic, man. I really, I really can't give enough kudos to what they did with this movie, how they did it. And I'm just looking forward to part two. I don't know if that's going to be the end of the Mission Impossible franchise, but if it is, I think that they're going to go out on a really positive note. I enjoyed the addition of Haley Atwell to the team. I think she brought a lot to the role, even though I think she was slightly miscast in this role. I don't know if she kind of fit the persona, and maybe that was going against the typecast of that, thief, pickpocket, or whatever you may call it. I think she worked well because she's such a great actress. But at the same time, for the role that she had, I'm not exactly sure if she was exactly right for that role. But then again, I mean, she knocked it out of the park, so who am I? But other than that, I mean, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, I can't gush enough about it. It has not reached my number one movie of 2023. That is still Across the Spider-Verse. But this one has definitely creeped into my top three. You got Mission Impossible, you got John Wick 4, and you got Across the Spider-Verse. And that is really good company to be keeping right now. Because, I mean, there have been some clunkers this year, but there have also been some pretty good movies, and this is definitely one of the top movies of the year. It's been well reviewed. There's a lot of buzz, a lot of good word of mouth, and I'm just looking forward to part two coming out next year, and just wrapping up either this double feature and potentially wrapping up the Mission Impossible franchise. I hope they don't continue because I don't know how many times the teams could get disavowed. I don't know how many more, trips Ving Rhames got in him. He looks kind of long in the tooth in these movies. And Simon Pegg, the guy in the chair, uh, you know, he's Simon Pegg. I mean, I think he could be there for 20 more of these things. But, Tom Cruise in his 60s, might be time to hang it up, buddy. Don't pull a Indy. Don't pull a Indiana Jones here. I don't need to see an 80-year-old Tom Cruise bringing back Ethan Hunt unless he's the guy in the chair. But other than that, man, definitely go check out Mission Impossible. It is definitely worth going to see it in IMAX this weekend before Oppenheimer comes out next week. Check it out in IMAX. Check it out on the big screen. Enjoy a good time at the theater. It is 2.5 hours, so definitely use the bathroom before you go. It is not a short movie, but at the same time, the pacing, it moves along, so you don't really feel those 2.5 hours unless you got to use the bathroom like I did. But other than that, once again, definitely go check out Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. You will not be disappointed. It will not disappoint you if you're in any of the Mission Impossible movies. It's definitely right up your alley. And until next week, Oppenheimer and Barbie, I'm excited.